This is Romare Bearden. Romare Bearden was a very famous artist who was known for his colorful collages that told stories of his African American culture through themes such as community, everyday life, cooperation, unity, and more. Bearden was born in North Carolina on September 2nd, 1912. However, his family moved to New York City when he was still very young. Romare Bearden grew up as an only child in a New York neighborhood known as Harlem during a time called the Harlem Renaissance, when African American music and arts were thriving in the area. Bearden's mother, Bessie Bearden, was very active in the civil rights movement and worked as a reporter for a popular African American newspaper. Because of his mother's activism, Bearden's household became a gathering place for famous African American leaders of the Harlem Renaissance, such as W.E.B. Du Bois, Langston Hughes, and musician Duke Ellington. Being surrounded by strong leaders in the African American community would later heavily influence Bearden's work. However, he was not always interested in becoming an artist. After Bearden graduated from high school, he attended New York City University with plans to become a doctor. However, while going to school, Bearden began to work for the Collage's magazine as a cartoonist and eventually became its editor. Exploring the world of cartoon creation sparked a deeper love for art in Bearden, and after college, he joined an African American artist group that focused on modern art such as Cubism, Futurism, Post-Impressionism, and Surrealism. Although he only began to focus on creating his own art late in life, by age 58, Bearden had become successful enough that he was able to become a full-time artist with his own studio. He earned grants and commissions and was often a visiting professor at universities. By the 1960s, Bearden had fully mastered his style and had moved on from painting to creating what he is most famous for today, collages. Though he could still be found in his studio working nearly every day, Bearden unfortunately contracted bone cancer and passed away on March 12, 1988. In the last few years of his life, however, Bearden and his wife made plans to create a foundation that would help with the education and training of talented art students. And in 1990, the Romare Bearden Foundation opened and is still helping art students succeed today. For today's activity, we are going to be creating our very own collage, just like Romare Bearden. To begin our collage, we will need a piece of colored construction paper and a pencil. Before cutting and gluing things onto our collage, it is important that we plan everything out in pencil first. This is the same way that Romare Bearden began all of his collages. Bearden would study the city around him and map out his stories before he ever began to cut and paste faces and shapes into his collages. This step will help us come up with a story idea for our collage that we absolutely love before piecing it together as a final work of art. For our collages, I would like each of you to tell a story with your art that shows your idea of community, unity, cooperation, or friendship. You can show a sports team working together, a mother caring for her child, friends holding hands, musicians playing together in a band, or anything else that fits into these themes of togetherness. The possibilities are endless, so try your best to come up with your own original, creative ideas. If you need help thinking of ideas, I would be happy to help you. For my collage, I decided to tell the story of dinner time, where several people have come together to share a meal or a quick snack. For this step of our collage, we do not have to worry about making our people detailed or even shaped perfectly. Instead, focus on mapping out where you want each person in your collage in order to create the best composition possible. Remember, a composition is what artists call the placement or arrangement of visual objects or ingredients in a work of art. A good composition is one that fills the space with people, tells a story, but is not too crowded. So try your best to keep this in mind as you map out your story. Now that we have our story mapped out, we can begin cutting out people and gluing them over our sketch to create our collage. I have cut out many pieces of people from magazines for all of you to use and place them in a bin. However, these pieces have not been cut out perfectly, and you will need to cut more closely around most of them before gluing them down to your paper. Start by searching the bin for faces and body pieces that fit the size, shape, and direction of the people you drew during the planning part of this activity. Do not worry if the faces and bodies you find do not line up exactly with your drawing. Collages are not always meant to have all objects and people look correct or natural. You may even find that some of your people look very silly, with heads that are a bit too large for their bodies, arms that don't match or line up just right, or other strange details. That's okay, because all of those imperfections will be what makes your collage look fun, different, and interesting, just like Romare Bearden's art. Once you have trimmed any extra paper off the people you are going to use in your collage, carefully apply glue to the paper and paste each person, body part, or face in the correct spot of your collage. Make sure to use enough glue to hold down your magazine people very securely, and check that none of the edges are lifting up before moving on to the next area to glue down. Also, once you have glued something down, it is likely there for good. Do not try to lift it back up or move it somewhere else, or you may end up ripping the person and having to glue over them with a new face or body part. Once all of your people have been glued down securely, you may draw and color in any additional objects you want to include. In my collage, I drew in the table, chairs, and a bowl of apples with different colored markers. It is important to remember that, depending on what color construction paper you used for your collage, not all of your marker colors will be bright or show up well. Finally, you may also find letters to cut out from magazines if you want to add words to your collage. For my collage, I cut out letters in order to spell dinner time in bold at the top of my art. But you can find other creative ways to use letters as well. You could use letters to show a sign or a billboard in the background of your picture, or if you show something like a baseball game, you could spell out the words home run, or even if you have a picture of something like friends holding hands, you could write the word friendship on top of your collage. If you plan on using letters but are not sure what to write or need some help spelling out words, let me know and I would be happy to help you. Collages take a skilled hand and a good eye for composition, and a lot of planning. So, take your time working on your project, but most importantly, have fun and let's get started.